Live from the hottest real estate market in America, Tampa Bay, Florida. This is the Real Estate Leads Podcast with the CEO and founder of the Olga System, your host, Lisa Carter.
Oh, man. So the county numbers are in, and there's 34,000 people between 2020 and 2022 that moved to Maine. And the winner is Cumberland County, but all counties experience some sort of migration, domestic, folks from other states, and some international. So we have today the expert on Maine and a great friend of mine, Gary Samia, who's been in the state for a very long time as a business owner and knows the market. And I want to call him GA because I'm from New Jersey, and that's what we call Gary's in New Jersey, gas. So GA, how are you? Thank you for coming on the show today.
Oh, I'm fantastic. It's a whopping 22 degrees in Maine today, so it's beautiful out there, but the sun's shining.
So you have shorts on and a sweatshirt.
That's normal. That's normal winter weather. Yep.
How cold does it have to be before you put pants on?
At least keep it above zero.
Okay. So it is a very very cold place for a very long time. Winter is a very long season. It's the DNA of the state. So why would 34,000 people move to Maine in the last couple of years?
Well, I think affordability is one. Maine is probably right now a affordable state, and as well as a nice state to be in. I mean, there's some other states that are affordable, but probably not as nice as Maine. And you have lakes and oceans and mountains to be here. I mean, it's just a very, very peaceful, wonderful place to be living in.
Speaking of which, how long have you lived there?
I've been here for 45 years. I came here 45 years ago when my son was 4 days old, and our plan was to be here a couple of years, and here we are 45 years later.
Wow.
And we don't believe we're going to be moving very soon.
Well, if you can't, because if you get someone will take your spot. It's like, as soon as you move from Maine, there's like 10 other people that want your house, they want your boat, they want your land. It's like crazy. But you mentioned, I think a lot of people don't know that although, yes, there is a long season of winter and fall, so it's a gorgeous place, and you can be in the mountains or you can be in the ocean. And is it just an hour or two, Gary?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could be up in Sugarloaf, and then an hour and a half later, you could be out on the waters of northern Maine.
So that's awesome. So I think what I'm seeing is a lot of people from the West Coast finding a very similar terrain. Like if you think about California, you can be an hour away from the beach or from the mountains. So where are you seeing? I said 35,000 people. Cumberland County. You want to talk about that a little bit? Why Cumberland County is seeing such a increase, and then it's becoming an international county. 10% of that number was international migrants.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the city of Portland. The city of Portland, which is really the center of Cumberland County, or at least the metropolis of Cumberland County. It's just such a beautiful, small, safe city to be in. And you could be in beautiful surrounding towns like, Falmouth and Yarmouth and Cumberland, and still be Uber away from being in downtown Portland or the old port section of Portland. Portland was at one time, I don't know if it still is or not, the mecca of craft beers. There were more microbreweries popping up into the city of Portland than anywhere else. I know it's caught on in a lot of other places, but there were all kinds of them in Portland, and it was like really the birthing area of microbreweries. So I think a lot of people like that type of atmosphere, and they like the parts of Portland that are just a nice city to be in, and it's still an affordable city compared to like Manhattan and some other places. I mean, you can still having affordable housing.
Oh yeah,
and be in a city and be able to just walk in. a city you don't need a car in. If you didn't need your car to go anywhere, you don't need your car to go around Portland. You can get around Portland very easily without a vehicle.
So Portland's a nice walkable town.
That's correct. It's very, very walkable, and beautiful sections of the city that have been really renovated and gentrified and just looking wonderful, especially up in the West End and Munjoy Hill area. Are just fantastic places to live.
So I talked about the number of people that have migrated from across the country and both internationally, type of people. So retirees, is this still, I used to think of Maine as a place that the motto is vacation land. You think of a place where you just kind of go and you slow down, your life. But you just talked about a walkable, vibrant downtown like Portland. Are retirees still coming to the state?
I don't think there's as many retirees coming to the state. It's not a very retirement-friendly state for tax purposes. So I think it's more the younger crowd is really migrating this way, especially with working from home. COVID really helped Maine because one, it's affordable. Two, people were working from home, so they didn't have to be in these expensive areas to be able to live and work. They could just work from home, and they could still have the feel of living in a city. A lot of people moved north from Manhattan once COVID hit because they could, and they could cut their living costs down by 20 or 30%. So that made a big difference, and still worked the same job, made the same amount of money, and was able to basically live in a city life, which they enjoyed living in Manhattan. It's no match to Manhattan as far as size-wise and things like that, but still, it's a lot of theaters are out here, a lot of restaurants. The Old Port section is loaded with restaurants and various types of drinking places and partying places. It's just a fun little city.
It is very vibrant, and you mentioned the amount of breweries that are in Portland. Some really great brands have been launched out of that Cumberland County, that Portland area, and that's been going on for quite a while. That hasn't changed, but there's give me some other things that may have changed over the years. Now, one of the things I know are the laws on cannabis, and how that has really created another industry in the state, and businesses coming there to be a part of that industry. Can you talk a little bit about how the legalization of cannabis has affected the state economy?
Well, I think it's helped it out quite a bit. I don't really know a lot about it. I'm sorry to say, but I know that in my area, I'm in York County. I know that some of the surrounding towns that abut New Hampshire have cannabis sales places going up like it's like corner stores. I mean, they're just everywhere. I think between town of Sanford and going into Lebanon before you get into Rochester, there must be 6 or 7 cannabis different places, some recreational, some medical, but they're really just growing up like unbelievably quick through the area. The city I live in is very controlled. It's very controlled, and they only allowed so many licenses, and that's it. But there's quite a few of them out there. Out by where our office is in Kittery, I mean, there's a handful of them right in a small little community of Kittery and Elliott. That's just there's no restrictions out in that area. But Sanford held a restriction. I think they only allowed total of 6 licenses in the state.
Right. I think in other counties where there's a little bit more agricultural based industry, you may find some of the restrictions in a little bit more lax, and also there's different levels, I guess. You can be retail or you can be agricultural. The other industry that's come up besides cannabis is tech. Like, I'm hearing so much about particularly Portland, Cumberland County being a tech hub, where businesses are coming in like crazy and building a nice industry, robust industry jobs, and others and maybe that's why we're seeing those migration of young people that are coming to the state.
I think it has a lot to do with it. I think Portland wants to be the tech industry of the Northeast, And again, I think it goes back to affordability and tax benefits that the city and the state will offer for that type of business to move into the state. So it really is pretty inviting to that. The highway runs right through the middle of the state, so it's easy, like in Portland, to jump on the highway and be in Boston if you wanted to be in Boston in an hour and a half drive, which isn't a long drive at all. And you could be at the airport and you can take off the POV, or you can be in downtown Boston in an hour and a half. So and the other thing they have is they have a high speed train, the commuter train that goes from Brunswick to Boston. And it's a high speed. So if you didn't want to drive, you could leave Wells, Maine, where would be my stop, and be in Boston in the same time it would take me to drive.
And a lot of people use that train going down to Boston along the and through the Maine and New Hampshire. So you're absolutely right about that. There are quite a few people that take that high-speed train right down to Boston. They only have to come into work a couple days a week, like you said. They'll hop on the train. It's nice. They get their work done, and they're able to have more affordable lifestyle up in Maine.
Yeah, and they can work while they're on the train, which is you can't do while you're driving.
That's
unless
right.
You're like me and you talk on the phone all day long. But I mean, if you want to work on your computer, that whole hour and a half ride you get on the train, you can be working. And on the way home the same way, so you don't lose any time whatsoever by being on the train.
So I mentioned affordable lifestyle. You happen to be in the real estate industry. We talked about a couple other industries. How long? Tell me a little bit about how you got into real estate and what you're doing today in terms of the state of Maine. How long you've been licensed? What are you doing? And we'll talk about the housing industry because that's really important to everyone right now.
Well, in 1988, I was a business administrator for a school district here in Sanford. And a friend of mine wanted to run for state senator, and he needed to sell his business. And I thought, well, this is a great investment. I'll just buy a real estate company. And I did.
Wow.
I wasn't licensed. I enjoyed real estate. I was actually one of his top clients. I would be buying apartment buildings or houses or whatever I needed. And so I was like one of his top business people. And so he came to me and I said, I'll buy a company. And then quickly learned I had to have a license really to even do anything. So in 1988, I got licensed as a real estate agent. Back then it was a little easier than it is today, and I could be a broker's license, be a broker quicker because I had an MBA. So I didn't have to wait the 5 years to become a broker.
Oh,
so
wow.
I didn't through that pretty quickly. It was back then. It's not now.
Right. Back then, you can walk in with a degree and say, hey, throw me a broker's license.
And I was a little independent and, had a nice little business going. Then the downturn came of the 90s, the early 90s. And an opportunity came to buy a Century 21 franchise.
Nice.
So I bought it in 1993. And that's when my company just started to take off and made a big difference to my lifestyle and my income, and it became very, very profitable and very good. And I was in it for a long time, 30 years anyways.
Oh,
and a good friend of mine, who was on my case for a long time to sell my company because he wanted to come to Maine but didn't want to step on my toes. Finally convinced me to sell my company to him. And that was 7 years ago, and I'm still working for him.
It's not that long. I'm glad you're still in the game.
Yeah, I'm still in the game, but I will tell you, today I turned 70. And
today's your birthday?
Today is my birthday.
Get out of here, guy.
Yeah, November 13th.
Happy birthday to you. That's awesome. Had no idea.
So I probably have another year left in me, maybe.
No, stop it.
We'll see.
Stop it. What are you going to do, play golf?
I have a lot of pressure from home to maybe think about retiring, but I don't know about that. But we'll have to wait and see what happens.
So you mentioned, there's a lot of chaos in the market going on right now. And you mentioned that there was, you started your business because of a chaotic market, because everything is cyclical, people. And we've been here, a different story, but a similar page or a different story. And you built your business during a time where it was very chaotic, but you seized an opportunity. And so that says a lot about you. Can you talk about the chaos right now with interest rates and how you are navigating? You're still part of an organization. You lend your expertise every day to new and seasoned real estate agents. What are you telling your team today about, as they start to really get, they're having a hard time? Inventory's low and interest rates are high.
Well, interest rates, I don't see really playing that big of a role as far as the buying side goes. The interest rate for buyers, they want a house. There's a lot of pent-up demand, and they want a house. And they don't look at the interest rate as an issue other than what they can afford. And it has changed affordability to some people. But the biggest problems coming in the real estate market right now is that people that are probably primed to sell their property, and if they have a mortgage on it, and wherever they're moving to needs to be mortgaged, that's where the issue comes, because they're probably sitting on a 2.5% or 3% or 3.5% mortgage right now. And if they sell their house, even though they'd be able to make a substantial profit on it, they're going to end up having to buy a house to end up with an 8 or 8.5% mortgage. And that's where the dilemma is coming right now in the real estate market, is that we can't get people to list their houses. Because houses that get listed sell. There's no question about it. They're selling. They're really not much lag time, unless they're well overpriced. And there's some of those in the market because they think it can be. And it usually takes a little while for that to catch up. But if you price the house correctly, it's going to sell. And it's going to sell within 7 days. And so to me, that's still a wonderful market.
That is a good market
to be in. And you just got to, you have to price it to sell it. You don't have to, you can't price it anymore for what it could be, because you just got to price it for what you think the value is worth. And that's the biggest thing I tell my people. I tell my people to go out there and get listings. Because if you get the listings and you get it priced right, you are going to be very happy with your paycheck at the end of every month. So I really think that's the thing. The name of the game is listings. It always has been and always will be.
Listings, getting listings. Just to put the scenario you said is the biggest challenge in perspective, 32% of the mortgages out there right now are under 3%.
Yep.
So that there's a challenge for getting the listings. But you and I both know that there are motivated sellers right now in the marketplace for many different reasons. Can you?
There are. They're all kind. And Maine is one of the oldest, states in the Commonwealth here, and so unfortunately, older people have to sell their houses at some point in time because they've got to go somewhere else, and they don't like where they're going, but they need the money to go somewhere else, and so those houses are going to be on the market and they're going to be sold. But they're just, and there's people just waiting to come in here and try to scoop those up. I mean, I had a house in Springville that we put on the market, and 6 days later it was under contract with very little contingencies, and it was the top of Sanford's market. $465,000.
Wow.
Sanford is not a normal market in Sanford. Normal sales in Sanford used to be somewhere around 275.
I remember those days. Remember those days. We're seeing your listings at 210, 225, 245.
Yeah, we used to have to sell twice as many houses as most people in order to be equal with them. And now it's, to have that house gone in 7 days, it's still a great market for sellers if they have to sell their house or want to sell their house. But it's the ones that are, like you said, the 30% of the people that probably would like to sell their house because they're ready to move to something bigger or something different or closer to the water or whatever, but aren't going to give up that mortgage rate.
No, it's hard. I've been talking about, there's life and milestones in life. Like you said, aging is one of them. Death, divorce, and taxes is what I tell agents about. Those are people that can't wait for the rates to go down next year. And, in between trying to hold on to your home, there's things that happen. People get sick, people get divorced, people expire. And so, and we have utilities and taxes that a lot of our older population with inflation cannot absorb. So you're absolutely right. There are still motivated sellers out there. And if you can get a listing, that's great. So that's the seller. So if I'm a buyer moving to Maine, should I, Gary, in your opinion, should I buy land or should I be looking for a home?
I think your best deals are still existing homes. The adjustment has not been made yet in the construction world to make that new home affordable enough for people to be able to build their house that they want in Maine. The materials, although should be coming down more, they're not coming down fast enough. And the tradespeople are so used to making the money that they're making, they're not prepared to come down yet. So I think the balance is off as far as new construction just yet. And I think a few things are going to have to happen. The price of existing homes need to stay up so that they're comparable to a new construction. And if that happens, then I think we'll see more new construction going. A really good friend of mine is in the development business, and he stopped his development. He's not doing anything with it.
Oh, you're kidding? Wow.
He's just decided to hold tight and not really to build right now.
Yeah.
His construction world is here in Sanford, and new construction houses in Sanford are well over the 450, almost over the 500 mark, and Sanford can't absorb that right now.
So the construction costs are causing him to hold, and a bunch of other builders now. Money's expensive when you're talking about financing your construction costs. Labor's expensive in the Northeast. You mentioned that the trades guys, they're not taking a discount on their services.
Yeah, and the regulations are causing certain things to have to be done that are, they sound like they're small things, but like to sprinkle a home now, that you're going to have to sprinkle a brand new construction home unless you're on city water, and there's very little lots of development area where you're on city water here in Sanford. It's another like $13,000-$14,000 added to the construction of a home. So you start adding those things from regulation world, it's just starting to drive new construction out, where you can buy an existing home, even if it's 5 years old, a lot less than you are if you built that house today.
Wow.
Prime example, we have a little subdivision out behind our office in Sanford. They built 41 houses back here. It's probably been 15 years now since the last house sold. We started selling those houses at $100,000. The highest house was like $225, I think, is what we sold the last one for. Now those houses are going for, $375 and $425.
Wow.
And we can't build those houses for $425.
Wow.
They're well over that amount of money. So and so you got a fairly new house sitting out there where you can buy a lot less than a new construction. So if you have to put a little bit of money into it to redo the flooring and paint and paper or whatever, you can do that and still be well under the cost of a new house. So I think the new construction houses are going to be a little bit stagnant. And that's why I don't think land is that good of a deal right now.
Wow. So the existing homes, there's plenty of real estate agents that work on Gary's team that can help navigate that process. Maine's hot right now. The word is getting out. If you're a real estate agent and you're licensed somewhere else, how easy is it is it reciprocity with Maine? There's states that have reciprocity with Maine?
Most states do have reciprocity. All you have to do is pass the law section of Maine in order to get licensed. and you could take a law refresher class here. You can take it online. You could take it at home study. You don't have to take it. You can just get the book, and if you're a good learner, just be able to learn and pass the test. If you pass the test, then you're licensed here in the state of Maine.
Wow.
And it's pretty simple reciprocity to be licensed in the state of Maine.
Wow, that's awesome. So there's opportunity for everyone. There's opportunity for those that are moving there, for various industries. The real estate industry is hot in Maine. If agents want to get at being a licensed realtor in Maine, it sounds like it's the return on the investment sounds like it's really nice. And look, the state has a lot of natural resources, a lot of outdoor. If you're not an outdoor person, there's a lot of indoor things to get at. We are the community moderators for a page called Moving to Maine page. Gary was a great influencer of that group. Gary, we're up to 14,000 people. Your team's in there interacting every day with the folks, and we're seeing everything. People from California, we're seeing people from Europe come in the page asking questions. So Moving to Maine is where it's at right now. Who would have thought little tiny Maine with houses, $100,000, $200,000 less than a decade ago, is a booming international metropolis just south of the Canadian border.
I'm a lot south from the Canadian border. Let's get that straight. It's like a day to get to the Canadian border from where I live.
There are people go, where is Maine? Maybe that's New Hampshire. I think they don't know where New Hampshire is, but I think that everybody knows. Look, Maine has it's like Hawaii. When you say the word Maine, people have a visual of what that looks like. Everything from a moose to the mountains to the snow-capped ski resorts. So the brand itself is very strong.
Very strong. And who would have known when we started Moving to Maine would be as big as it is today?
I know. Somebody owes you something. I don't know what it is, but somebody owes you something.
Well, I don't know, but I think my boss, and I would say this to his face because I would, made a big mistake letting that go.
Yes. I know. Well,
and I hope he's listening, because I'm going to tell him again when I see him.
Right. It's well, look, it's patience. I think that's one of the things that you, when I started looking at real estate in the industry and how I can make an impact, Gary Samia was the first person that said, look, come to my meetings, understand what these folks are going through, what the industry's about, and what it takes to be a real estate agent. And right now, agents and the idea of what you guys provide to the community it is being challenged, and will always. When you're doing great things, people will always challenge your value and your worth. But I can tell you, after sitting in the meetings, and I've never been in that industry. I've come from clothing and background. I worked at Staples. I worked at Victoria's Secret. I've worked for footwear, and I've never been in the real estate industry, but seeing what your team has to do on a daily basis, some of the safety risks of meeting people they don't know, finance, you have to be a financial advisor, a psychologist, a home stager, cleaning property up. I've heard you and Brian talk about going in and cleaning properties up and getting dumpsters just to get things sold, right? So you have to be really well-rounded and patient. And
we do, and we have to get smart and hire people like you, because my top producers are all the ones that you are working with to make them successful. So, one thing about the real estate business, the successful people are the people that aren't afraid to spend money to make their business work. They become very successful. And the people that put some money into you to help them get stronger have really made a big difference here in the state of Maine. For my agents that work here.
We're happy to it, but it is definitely not, it's not ATM. You can't market yourself for 2 days and think you're going to get a high return that happens with nothing. It's a marathon. And I invested in my time in trying to help agents, and you were wonderful in helping me navigate that process. So I thank you, and happy birthday, sir.
Thank you very much. And always great talking with you, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Same here, Gary. Thank you, Gary.
All right. Take care. Talk to you later.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yep.